All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so welcome to Draw 3 of the New Brunswick Tankard, our men's provincials Final 8. And this is the 1 o'clock draw this afternoon at the Capital Winter Club here in Fredericton. Today we're going to be watching Team Terry Odishaw out of Curl Moncton against Team Rennie Comeau based out of Thistle St. Andrews Curling Club in St. John, New Brunswick. So for your for your commentary today, you're going to be hearing from myself, Will Robertson, and Andy Steves, and so we'll get right started with the lineups for this afternoon's game. So from the Thistle St. Andrews Curling Club, so Team Rennie Como throwing the Blue Stones. Their lead, who you're about to see throw his first rock, is Zach Blanchard. Second is Jordan Kraft. Third is Ryan Fries. Skip is Rene Como. And then out of Curl Moncton is, as I said before, Team Terry Odishaw with lead Grant Odishaw. Second, Mark Laycock. Third, Mike Kennedy, and Skip Terry Odishaw. So, welcome. We're gonna have some good curling here.
Right. I noticed that actually it's Pinder that's playing second today.
Yes.
It's not Mark Lecoq.
So Jordan Pinder is Team Terry Odishaw's fifth.
Yes.
Playing this game here this afternoon.
Mark has played, but they seem to be rotating the first and second spots on the team. Will.
Yeah, and when you have a fifth player, you can always decide how that rotation works, whether or not you base it off of a regular schedule, or you just kind of decide as the tournament goes on when a good game might be to bring your fifth player into play.
This will be an interesting competition, Will, because we probably have the youngest team in the competition, the Comeau team, playing the oldest team. And except for Pinder, I believe all the members, the other four members of the Odishaw team are senior age and have competed in seniors for several years. In curling, senior starts at age 50.
Yeah, so as you said, a lot of the guys playing on Team Rene Como have just come out of juniors, trying to grind their teeth in some men's provincial play, and a lot of the players here, well, pretty much everyone from Team Terry Odishaw has played in seniors, has won seniors. Of course, Mike Kennedy is a world senior champ with Wayne Talon from the Capital Winter Club in 2014. So, of course, fantastic achievement at the senior level. So, definitely a ton of experience against some younger players who are looking to get hopefully to that amount of experience one day.
Right. And now, having said that, again, the Odishaw team not only have seniors experience, but Grant and Terry and Mike Kennedy, Mark Lecoq, have all gone to several Briars. However, that's not to diminish the accomplishments of the Comeau team. Where several of their members have gone to nationals as well, albeit at the junior, under age 21 level of competition.
Yeah, so this first end here is a little more messy than one would usually like. So you'll see that Zach Blanchard may be throwing lead rocks, but is holding the broom for the rest of the game, and Rene Como throws fourth stones. So Jordan Kraft's going to be asked to try and just run this guard into the yellow stone. Just barely misses.
This will give Terry an opportunity to hit and lie two.
So Terry Odishaw's team, as I mentioned before, throwing yellow stones. Rene Como's throwing blue. And Team Odishaw has hammer in this first end play here.
So early on in this end, Terry is set up to get a multiple, whether the exchange will allow him to do that. But right now, if this shot is made, he will be lying two. They're sweeping it quite hard, Grant is.
Yeah, easing off here now as it comes down. But as you mentioned, rings, they've split the rings. They have a corner guard up in a pretty good spot. And that's all you can ask for when you're when you're playing for this end. So when you're trying to score 2, that's the best thing you can do.
And Jordan Kraft will be asked to hit and roll here. There's good opportunity here with this shot. That's one thing you'll notice too with the younger curlers, Will, is how smooth the deliveries are. The curl can instruction these days is very different than when I started curling, and the result is young curlers that are dead on the broom and have very smooth release. Probably a lot less wear and tear on their knees and other joints as they age.
Yeah, definitely a lot of curlers at the senior level have spent a lot of time warning juniors and people coming out of juniors about what can happen if you don't adjust your throw or don't adjust your practices in terms of making sure you're warming up and cooling down before and after games because of the wear and tear on your knees and on your hips, for example. I know for most of my junior days up to date, I've always had Russ Howard breathing down my neck telling me to make sure I warm up and everything, and so that way my knees stay intact.
Yes. Especially on takeout shots where there's quite a push out of the hack. There's quite a bit of force and torque that's put on your bent knee, not so much the trailing leg.
So Ryan Freeze here is a bit of a tricky spot. These yellows aren't exactly set up well in terms of angles for Team Comeau, but they're in a decent spot for Team Odishaw. Not perfect in terms of where the roll went. They're trying to roll behind that guard, and that rock is partially behind it, but those stones are grouped together, which when you're in Team Comeau's situation is the best you can ask for in terms of trying to prevent the deuce. Just a discussion here on what shot to play, whether you...
They're looking at the freeze option, are they, maybe?
Well, I think it's right now, it seems whether or not they freeze or whether they try and hit and stick.
Corner onto one rock.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So it seems to be that's the option they've gone for. The risk is if you over curl and just get a piece of the yellow that's behind that guard on the left side of your screen, it's not going to be a good situation because you're going to roll open, and Team Odishaw will have a chance to split the rings again.
Okay, definitely take out weight on this.
Going for curl.
Curl, hit, and it's wide open. It needed to curl maybe a little bit more at the end, but Terry has an opportunity now to hit the blue and have his yellow rock go to, if you consider it to be a clock dial, the 2 or 3 o'clock position on the right-hand side. Mike's asking for a little more ice. Yes, he is.
Yeah, so once again, just trying to split the rings here, Team Odishaw is. So that's all you. That's the basic strategy of trying to get a deuce in curling when you have the hammer is split the rings, if you can. If the end is set up to do so. This is curling right out of Mike Kennedy's hand.
Curling hard. I guess Mike asked for more ice for a reason. Well, there's a break for Rene Comeau's team because giving up a 2 early is not the best result.
Definitely not ideal.
Especially against a team like Terry Odishaw and his mates. They're experienced. You really don't want them to get too far ahead of you there. Although they were up 8-4 on Trevor Hansen yesterday, and Hansen got a 4-ender to tie that game. Eventually, however, Terry won. So they're coming down. Comeau, this is a nice-looking shot, Will.
That's a pretty good lightweight hit for Team Comeau there. Ryan Freeze not exactly content with it, but that's because it didn't get to roll completely buried. So now Mike Kennedy will have a chance to make that hit slightly better than Ryan did.
Now, with these last 2 shots, you had 2 kind of disgruntled throwers. This is part of the feeling out process that you have in your first end. You know, how much the ice is curling and where is curling and where are the straight spots. Mike Kennedy's first rock over curled and rolled out, and Ryan Freese's under curled. Now look at this one.
Yes,
Wow.
now Mike Kennedy's rock over curls again now. Now they've got to be careful, because if we've noticed, both of these stones that they've thrown in this position have over curled for Mike Kennedy, so there might be something there to think of for Team Odishaw, or perhaps Mike just didn't exactly throw those the way he wanted. But
right.
We shall see. It is the first end, of course. So once again, Rene Comeau throwing last rocks for his team here. Zach Blanchard has been calling the game and will, and however he throws lead stones, and that's perfectly fine. You can decide the order of however you want to throw in whichever way in curling. So this is perfectly well within their right.
So Rene, I believe, is going for a guard on the blue.
Yeah, and how he's
probably a tight guard.
Yeah, how he's kicking out there would definitely indicate that.
And if you noticed, the broom that was given to him was the edge of the 8 foot, so they're expecting probably a 5.5 foot curl here.
And the rock's definitely trying for them here now. It just needs to get over that center line.
There it goes.
And it's trying.
But it's only, well,
it's a little heavier than they would have liked.
Yeah, it is. The coverage is good, but the two rocks are quite close together. Terry is a good takeout thrower, so he's probably feeling fairly comfortable with this. The only doubt in his mind might be, what is the ice like here in the first end? That's one thing about the practice wheel, is because they determine hammer by draw of the button. There's not too many takeouts actually thrown during the practice period by the curlers.
Yeah, and that's partially by choice sometimes. Sometimes you're able to, some teams will actually like to throw a lot of hits, and then at the end of their practice let their skip start practicing draws.
Okay.
But, to each their own. However, you're right, they have only thrown draws pretty well in their practices, both teams.
Wow, he jammed it. It was a good throw. Terry threw it well, but I guess it undercurled, because they really weren't trying to make it curl anymore.
So now it's interesting how this end is shifted. Team Odishaw was set up pretty well, split the rings earlier in this end. Sitting 2, looking like they could get their deuce here in this first end, which would be their goal. But here we are now with Rene Comeau sitting shot rock and about to hit this yellow stone to perhaps force Team Odishaw to 1.
To do the force, it will be important that Rene's rock stays as a biter.
So seems to be a good throw from Rene.
They're trying to make it curl a bit more.
Yeah, it definitely has some down handle, so it will curl a little.
There it is. So they are line 2. It forces Terry to throw 1, not unless he wants to risk the takeout or double takeout, but that would be risky, and the reward wouldn't be that great. You probably end up jamming it anyway. So he's going after number 1, I think. Will.
Yeah. So Terry's electing to throw the hit here. In the first end, if you're comfortable throwing this inside-out hit, you might as well do it. You got a little bit of space to roll. You would be rolling down, so you have a little more 4-foot area to roll into. Jordan Pinder is sweeping this pretty hard.
It certainly is. It looks good.
It will roll. A little up weight.
Wow.
It should be shot rock.
It should be, yeah. I think the way it was kicked off by Zach Blanchard there, I'd say for sure it's a 1 for Odishaw.
So Terry Odishaw's team from Curl-Moncton goes up, scoring 1 with the hammer here in the first end. So Rene Comeau's team from the TSA in St. John will go into the second end with hammer.
The records of the teams, Comeau is 0-2. They lost both games yesterday. Terry split. James Grattan is 2-0. He won both his games yesterday. All the other teams are 1-1. So, Will, you and I were speculating about the probability of tiebreakers come Saturday morning.
Yeah, and when you're in a situation like this with an 8-team round robin, it's fairly easy for that to happen. Sometimes you'll see a couple of teams winning most of their games or winning all of their games, but mathematically there's always a really good chance of teams being tied up and needing tiebreakers.
And with tiebreakers, Will, there would be tiebreaker games, would there not?
Yeah, so if we're looking ahead for the tiebreaker, that would be Saturday at 2 p.m. here at the Capital Winter Club would be a tiebreaker if it is required. So definitely something to pay attention to as you watch the coverage of the Tankard here this weekend and this week.
For Terry's first rock, they put up a center guard. On the other sheets, I see sheet 2 has I think that's Kane. Yes, Kane is 2-0 over Sear. Sheet 3, which is Jones and Hansen, is 0-0, and on sheet 1, that's 0-0 as well, and that is Grattan versus Roach. There's a good rock behind the cover.
Well, you can't ask for much better, really. That's a good shot from Zach Blanchard there. So Team Odishaw playing aggressively here in this second end. Putting up the center guard, some teams will like to put that in the forefoot or in the rings and exchange hits to maybe keen up the ice a little in the first few ends, but Terry Odishaw, more than well able, confident in his abilities and his team's abilities, goes for the center guard. Just trying to get around this blue, but will just tap it and roll over.
And it's, well, I was going to say pretty well open, but there was a spin there at the very end, Will, and I'd say it's, what, half covered perhaps?
Yeah, there
maybe more than half with the long guard.
Yeah, the long guard there is tricky, but Rene Comeau was asking for a lightweight here from Zach Blanchard. However, it looks to be board weight. Curling.
Sweeping hard. He's called them off, Rene has.
Might have been a little aggressive on the line call there, Rene Comeau, but
yes. Wow, you're
stays
right.
in.
The houses are quite lively, and when we say lively, what it means is it doesn't take too much of a hit for the rock to leave the rings. Sometimes in club play, you can hit a rock quite hard and still have the recipient, the object rock, still in the rings. But in that case, it did stay around. So early on, the Comeau team is lying 2.
Yep, these rocks have been sanded and textured prior to this event, so they will be lively. There will be a little more curl than some people who, like myself, would play Tuesday Night League are used to, just because of that texturing of the rocks. But these players here are well used to that.
This is called for a draw to probably the number 1 rock.
Yeah,
Kennedy is sweeping it. It's quite good. Over curled at the end, however. There's still, I can think, kind of wrestling with the ice.
Yeah, right between that. And if for those of you who may have watched last night, Team Sear and Team Jones, in a game that Ed Sear's team out of the Capital Winter Club ended up winning, in between those 4-foot lines that would be there, in that 8-foot space, the middle of the sheet, they were struggling with that for the first few ends. And at least Team Odishaw here seems to be struggling in that area as well. It is a tricky spot sometimes. Those rocks will take off as they get into the middle. Because of the way the ice is made here, it is a bit of a U with a little bit of a valley in the middle of the sheet, so it will curl a little more into the middle. So when you get right into the middle of that sheet, you got to be really careful because it will take off on you.
And when we talk about the 4-foot lines, what we're talking about, there's a center line that goes all the way up and down the ice, and the 4-foot lines correspond to the edge of the 4-foot circle. If you extended that down the ice 2 feet on either side of the center, there's an opportunity for a double here, but it didn't curl. Once again, in that case, it didn't curl as much as they expected.
And that'll take a bit of time for the team to get used to, but as we mentioned, with the experience of Team Odishaw here, they should be able to adjust to what the ice conditions are, and you have to adjust to what the ice conditions are, because it's not like you can switch surfaces mid-game. This is the sheet you've been given to play, and got to be able to read that.
And again, depending on home club conditions, sometimes it can be a bit of a struggle. Now that removed the number 2 rock, but instead of lying 3, their shooter rolled out, and now Comeau's lying 2.
Gives Terry Odishaw a little bit of breathing room, however.
Yes, it does.
He's going to call for the freeze here onto this shot stone in the center. Well, he might be...
I think that's a nudge.
He might be tapping it here now. But as long as you can, if you get the chance to move that rock, you can and you should. But it's always perfectly well to freeze to it as well. It might set up an option for later in the end. All things that may be in the mind of Skip Terry Odishaw here. Definitely is at least a tap and lightweight hit. Grant Odishaw indicating that it is down, so it should curl a little more than they might have wanted.
Really caught the curl there as it crossed the hog line. Nice shot by Mike Kennedy. It would be half open, wouldn't it, Will? Maybe 3/4 open.
Yeah, it's half open right now, but it's always a tricky situation because with that guard and with these teams adjusting to the middle of this sheet right now, you gotta be careful because those will take off. And you saw some good communication there from Grant Odishaw to make sure that his skip knew the weight was down.
That's very important.
Very important. You got to know as a skip what that weight is, because it will definitely affect how much the rock will curl, and obviously very important in trying to make your shots.
Nice hit and roll there. If you might have noticed, Rene Comeau was sweeping and Jordan Kraft was not. Now what happens there is that Rene was doing directional sweeping. He was actually shooting at 45 degrees to the path of the rock, trying to make it curl a little bit more in that direction. And it worked. How much it worked is hard to say, but as a result, you got a fairly good hit on the yellow rock and a nice roll.
And that summarizes pretty well the science of what we know right now about directional sweeping. We're not sure how effective it is. We know it is effective to an extent, which is why these teams still do it.
Wow, look at this now.
All right,
Excellent.
Mike Kennedy. Okay.
There.
Make a crosshouse double, why don't you?
Yeah.
Very good shot from Mike Kennedy. You see the fist bumps there?
Yes.
Well deserved.
And actually, as that rock approached contact, Pinder was doing some sweeping, directional sweeping as well. But Terry was very alert. And again, there's experience of knowing what angle to hit that rock to get the roll.
It's always difficult when you have that long of a distance to roll.
It is.
What angle you got to hit a rock at.
And again, a little bit of sweeping to make it curl, and it stays. But again, remember last end, Will, where it went from Odishaw looking like they were almost a shore 2 to Terry being forced to hit against 2. It's the same thing here. At one point, Comeau was lying 3. Now they are lying 1.
Interesting how the tables have turned. That will happen, back and forth games are a good indication right now in these couple ends where they have been very much back and forth. Kind of gives us some hope for a really exciting game here in this third draw.
Yes, very much so.
But you could see, where you could say the turning point may have been for that end was definitely when Terry Odishaw's team was able to get rid of that center rock in the middle that was partially buried.
Right, forced the roll into the open, which led to the double.
And here we are. And Terry Odishaw will roll out, which is not the outcome he wanted.
Not really, with 2 rocks. Comeau has 2 rocks left, and Terry's only got 1. If Rene wants to gamble, it looks like he is, Will. He's going to draw in behind that center guard.
Well, yeah, you've been given a free center guard here by Team Odishaw, so you might as well use it on your skip stones. So Rene Comeau will be doing that here, trying to bury behind this center guard. So he'll like it right on, just touching the center line of the sheet here.
He's expecting about 5 feet of curl. Remember, the rings have a diameter of 4 feet, 8 feet, and 12 feet, and they're almost at the edge of the 12-foot circle, trying to get towards the center. So it's about 5 feet of curl. A meter and a third if you're in the metric, but that's what he's looking at here. But it all depends on weight and line sweeping as well.
Yep, sweeper's off and on this rock now, sweeping.
Must be close.
That's always a good sign.
Now
Coming down now.
it's the curl's increasing. Is there a chance it might over curl here?
It's coming down nice, maybe a little.
Nice judgment. Nice call by the Comeau team. There's not too much showing on that rock.
No, not much at all. There might be just a sliver, which may be enough for Terry to, and is enough for Terry to try and come at it with light weight. Because it will, that guard's high enough that it will curl around it. But obviously the risk is whether you wreck or not. But that won't be in Terry's mind as he throws this stone.
No, not at all. And he's got good sweepers, and this is good sweeping ice, Will.
Yes.
I think we've seen instances where directional sweeping probably helped rocks catch more of objects than they would have otherwise. And with this one, I can see with Grant and Pender ready to sweep, they might be able to control the path of this quite well. Terry's coming out.
Seems to be board weight. Starting to curl. Grant's going to start trying to make it curl some more. He needs to.
It's going to be close.
Doesn't get enough.
No.
So
open draw for 2.
yeah, as we said, that's one of the risks of throwing that. If it doesn't curl enough, you know, you get in this situation, and now the tables have flopped right on over again. And here we are with Rene Comeau, as you said, with an open draw for 2.
They used to call it a free draw for 2, Will, but I've done enough to tell you they're not free.
No.
Many's the time I've seen not only myself but others come up either short or heavy on these things. But it's a free point, if you will, but it's an open draw. Free opportunity, perhaps, is a better way of putting it.
So the sweepers, you can be a little heavy here, because if you tap your own stone, that's perfectly fine, and that's why they've chosen this path.
Team seems quite happy with it.
Yep, so this will tap that rock, which gives you an indication as to why they took that path, but it should stay.
Wow, look at that.
No, it won't.
Gracious sakes.
1 point for Rene Comeau.
Wow. I did not think when that hit, Will, that would go anywhere close to being out.
I mean, no, I'd agree with you. I thought he'd thrown just a back house weight with full knowledge that he had a chance to just tap that rock, but you can throw back house weight. You certainly can't throw back line weight.
Yes.
For those open draws. So it's tied at 1.
And that's why they're called open draws, not free draws.
Exactly. So going into the third end, it's tied here at 1, and Team Odishaw throwing the yellow stones will have hammer in this third end.
On the other sheets, on sheet 1, it's still 0-0 with Grattan and Roach. Sear and Kane is still 2-0. Some of the scores haven't been updated, and sheet 3 with Hansen and Jones is 0-0 as well, but they haven't put up scores for a couple ends now.
Which, of course, the officials will be bugging them about, but
yes.
The officials are, we have some fantastic volunteers here this weekend. We've come from the ice crew to the people downstairs, people doing 50-50, us up here, and absolutely the officials who spend a lot of their time out there in the freezing cold for the benefit of the curlers and having an officiated event. So
yes.
Thank you to them.
A lot of hockey moms and hockey dads will sympathize with the officials that are out there on the ice right now, because you're really not moving around very much. The curlers actually, a lot of them you'll see down to T-shirts, due to the effort, the energy they spend sweeping. But the poor officials, they're not supposed to move around very much. They can become a distraction if they do.
Well, you might not notice them on our live stream. They're kind of off to the side, but they're also all in black, and we have black draping here as well. So they might be blending in a little Pink Panther-esque, really. But
Exactly. I remember yesterday there was a measure, and there was an official walking along the sideboards carrying the measure stick, and just the way they were going, it almost seemed like the stick was floating down the ice. Again, a bit of a... But you wouldn't want them in bright orange either, that's for sure.
No, we're not out here hunting, so, you know.
Okay, so once again, center line by Comeau, draw behind to the top 8 foot by Odishaw. We've actually seen this this is now the third end in a row as a start. It's like opening moves in chess. This is one of the popular Queen's Pawn to fourth spot.
Now, Blanchard is a little inside here, so I believe the audible's been called, plan B. Try and raise this blue towards that Yellowstone, and definitely not what Zach Blanchard had in mind when he got in the hack.
No, that's good news 2 ways, well, 3 ways actually for Odishaw. The center guard is gone. It's now become a corner guard, partial corner guard, and is now backing at the back of the ring. So
yeah, the question is now whether you were to hit or freeze, and Grant Odishaw and Terry Odishaw are deciding to freeze to that stone, which is always an option. You know, so if you're, it's early ends, you can absolutely hit that and play that conservatively, but as you've just alluded to, they've been playing a little more aggressive in this game. Both teams have. So the aggressive call here, and the smart call really is playing the freeze to that rock that's back of the rings. Just coming up a little light.
Just a little light, yes, because it was starting to finish very nicely. The freeze was a possibility there. Now, what is going to be the call by Zach? He's going to hit the high one. Is he trying for the double or just to remove it straight back? Will, do you think?
Just knows. He's calling for about control weight here, it seems. So Jordan Kraft will throw the hit that Zach Blanchard has called here now.
Nice positive release by Jordan, and if you notice the number of rotations as well.
Quite high. Which may be part of the reason why he's rolled out here. That was spinning the whole way down. You always want to have, as you said, a good positive release. But a spinner isn't exactly going to help you, so that may have been a little too positive there from Jordan Kraft. But it leaves Terry Odishaw another opportunity to lie to.
Yes, and to use the corner guard that was created 2 rocks ago.
Jordan Pinder will throw the draw here to come around this blue guard, which is now a corner guard basically for Team Odishaw.
And this has got quite a curl as well.
It's straightened out a little here for him.
Yes, it has.
Which may indicate that it may be a bit heavy. And it's slowing down. Just a little heavier than they would have liked.
Yes.
Stopping back tee.
It's actually open on the outside, is it not?
It is, yeah.
If they want to come that way.
Which Zach Blanchard's indicating he would like Jordan Kraft to come down probably with around board weight to hit that Yellowstone.
And I suppose he'd be looking for a little bit of an inside roll, do you think? That would get him more or less directly behind the corner guard.
And they're definitely looking for that roll, but this may be a little up weight and a little up rotation. And Jordan Kraft once again rolling out. Seems to be a bit of a struggle there with that, but...
yeah, this gives Terry's team, Pinder and other... You hate to give any good curler the same shot twice, and with a little bit more ice, he might be perfectly buried by the time this rock comes to rest.
So same line, same-ish weight, maybe a little lighter than the first one, but once again it's staying a little straighter, so it may be heavy. Sweeper's completely off of it.
little heavy, but it's not as open as it was previously. Previous shot.
No, but there it might be a
Yeah,
double
double.
here.
Would the double have a jam though? Would the object yellow, if you got the double, would it jam on the blue? I wonder.
Well, the way Blanchard's playing this, it seems to be that would be the case.
Okay.
So now he's going to just try and, I believe he's just going to try and nose this rock.
With the intern.
If you get rid of the blue behind you, that's not bad. Right now, it's not doing any good at all for you. It's just adding some added help for Team Odishaw, so that's the pro side misses, hitting this a little lower and getting rid of the blue, which they will.
Yeah, nice result for Ryan Freeze.
Yeah, Ryan Freeze may not be very content with it, but that's a pretty good option.
Yeah, like you say, Will, we all hate to knock out our own rocks, but in that case, that rock was a bit of a nuisance, being behind the tee line like it was.
Yeah, so the only negative coming out of this is that Terry Odishaw can hit and roll over to lie 2. As we mentioned in the first end, similar to the first end, splitting the rings. If Mike Kennedy here makes the roll to the outside of the rings.
Rock's underway.
Now this will curl. Just really got to stay close with it.
He might have a bit of a roll here. Not much.
Rolls a little to the center.
If it had curled maybe an inch and a half, you probably would have got a dandy roll. But and is it too steep to expect a double here?
No, so the double is possibly there, but the chances of you rolling out are pretty high. In this situation, you want to stay in the rings. So Freeze is going to try and hit and roll here, but maybe a bit inside. Jordan Kraft sweeping the whole way.
They've given up on it.
And Ryan Freeze goes through the goalposts.
Well, just like the first end and the second end, at the midpoint of the, well, this is 3/4 of the way through the proceedings. We have one team that's looking at a multiple, and that is the Odishaw team. Discussing options here.
And as much as the chances for 2 have been abundant for both teams, no one taking advantage of it yet. We've exchanged single points here now. And Mike Kennedy's just going to go down to discuss this right now with Terry Odishaw. Discuss the game plan.
Mike looked like he wanted to more or less guard the high rock. Terry wants the freeze or the come down.
Yeah, so the aggressive call here is come around that blue.
Right.
It makes it less of a nuisance for yourself in terms of the Yellowstone that's back tee right now. Because Terry's worry is that if Rene Comeau freezes to that Yellowstone, you're in a bit of a pickle. And it will definitely hinder your possibility of getting one. I'm not sure Terry would want to come down anywhere near that Yellowstone, but if you sit around top 8, maybe even with the rock that's further up in the house, that's probably the best spot for it in this situation.
I agree.
So I believe that is the call from skipper Terry Odishaw here.
And really the positioning of this rock has nothing to do with what Kennedy wants to throw or can throw. It's all to do with what Comeau is going to do. So it's really thinking a shot or two ahead here. This looks light.
It does indeed. Jordan Pinder sweeping all the way. For line as well.
No, that looks good.
Coming down, maybe top 8. Don't want it any deeper than that.
You're right. Gracious, that they carried that quite a way. Getting back to the last shot, last end there with Rene, again, I know I was fooled just watching the weight and on this one as well. Well managed by the sweepers. Grant and Jordan Pinder were not panicking at all in terms of weight. They were quite comfortable.
That's an indication of some of the experience there as well.
I agree.
You know, it's a lot of young teams right now, including my team, will use hog-to-hog times, and we'll always have stopwatches out there. But some of the best coaches will tell you that those are just something to help you. And I know for a fact Grant Odishaw is definitely a big proponent of using the tools you've been given, aka your eyes.
Yes.
to try and see the speed of that rock. And Jordan Pinder and Grant Odishaw, if you were paying close attention, right beside the rock the whole way, judging the speed of the rock and doing it accurately
And
as
again,
well.
and for those of you who aren't curlers, it is the responsibility of the sweepers to get the weight right. The line is the responsibility of the person in the house. Nice shot by Rene. He would have liked a bit more of a roll, but the sweepers were on it to try to keep it straight. It's a little bit tricky for Terry Odishaw. If he hits that rock a little bit on the left side of center, he could jam on the back number 1 yellow rock. But what he's hoping for is a nose hit and to stay right there.
Yeah, you never, as you said, you never want to hit this on the high side of the stone, because if you do, you're hitting your own out. For Terry, that's definitely not going to be very helpful for him. So, just trying to nose. If you might be able to get a little bit of a flop, but not hit your own yellow stone there.
True.
But definitely just trying to at least nose this rock. And Grant and Terry just discussing that before he throws.
Which is a good thing to do as well, to be clear for all the participants what the call is and what the expectation is.
Grant indicating it's firm. Might be a little up. Jordan Pinder sweeping for line.
Nice hit.
That's
nice
pretty
roll.
well perfect.
It is. Well, I don't think you could ask for a better result than that, because those 2 yellows are not touching. One is actually covering the corner of the other. Would there be a double there? I suppose you could hit that one just thrown at an angle back and hope for a double.
Well, running Comeau with the instincts coming out of juniors, you're always trying to look at how many rocks you can get rid of.
Right.
Try and cut down the score, and give your chance. What's the best chance you have of scoring here? And what's the best chance you have of cutting down right now is the goal for Rene Comeau, cutting down the score of Terry Odishaw.
Right. Now, the number 1 rock is actually accessible for draw, but that would be very aggressive to do that, because you'd be running a risk of a 4. They're really looking, I think, the discussion is all about takeout.
Yeah. The danger is with the angles where these yellow stones are right now is that the takeout may be what you would like to do. However, there's a very high likelihood of rolling out for
Yes.
any kind of double takeout.
I agree.
Apart from trying to hit the stone that Terry has just thrown a little thick and get that double, and you'll stay in, but it's a wide open hit for 2 for Terry Odishaw if that's the shot you make.
Although I bet if you and I were to go down to interview Rene right now, he first of all wouldn't want to be interviewed right now, but his comment probably would be, I would be happy to give up only 2 at this point. This is looking like it could be a 3.
So Rene Comeau, as I just mentioned, that option to hit this yellow closer to the center, a little thick, probably about 3/4 of the stone. Try and get a double with the back yellow.
And stay around.
And stay around. Staying around is the key, but you want to get those 2 yellows gone before thinking of anything else.
Yeah. And again, that's the sweepers, Zach in the house with Rene throwing it. They all have to be clear on what the object is here.
Rene Comeau coming out with peel weight. A little inside.
Is he going to hit the guard?
He does.
Yeah.
A little more than a little inside for Rene Comeau.
Yeah, I think he really was, just from the get-go, wasn't he, Will?
Yeah, I think he may have slid to the stone and not the broom, but happens to the best of us. So you just got to brush that one off your shoulder. Terry Odishaw has an open draw for 4. But as we saw yesterday on our live stream coverage with Team Sear and Team Jones, Team Sear was able to come back and win that game after giving up 1 and then giving up 3 consecutive steals of 1. These are 10-end games. Even if with a deficit of 4 points, it is still possible in the remainder of the game to claw back and try and get in close. All you have to be is close in the 10th end, And Rene Comeau and his team will be more than aware of that. Meanwhile,
draw for 4. Open draw, as we mentioned before. In this case, he's got 2 rocks as, actually 3 if you think about the combinations here. So this is just a nice throw by Terry. You notice, folks, how much it curled. That was a good 3 or 4 feet of curl there. On sheet 3, the score between Jones and Hansen remains at 1-0. They're in the 4th end. On sheet 2, gracious, there's all kinds of points being scored. After 3 ends, it's 5-3.
Ryan Kane, 5-3 for Ryan Kane.
Over Sear. And on sheet 1, can you see that? Well, it's Roach has got at least 1.
Yeah, 1-0 for Roach.
1-0. Roach over Grattan. And all those games are in the 4th end. They're a little bit ahead of this the game we're broadcasting. So 5-1 lead.
So we'll take this moment here at the beginning of this 4th end to thank of the New Brunswick Curling Association sponsors. Papa John's, who's a big proponent and supporter of curling here in the province of New Brunswick, especially with junior curling across the province. Big thank you to them for making all the contributions they do. The province of New Brunswick, of course, we are in New Brunswick, and they do definitely support a lot of the clubs in the province, including this one financially and with some of our bids for events over the years. So thank you to the province of New Brunswick. And Bell, of course, 360 Live, powered by Bell Alliant, having our broadcast here. You're listening to us thanks to them. So always good to support the curling in this province by having these games and these tournaments live streamed. So thank you to Bell, and thank you to the crew with 360 Live. Make sure, by the way, with that said, to share the link to the live stream. Copy and paste that link at the top of your web browser. Share it with family, share it with friends. Always fantastic to have a good following online watching these games, and I can tell you for a fact that the curlers definitely appreciate all the support they can get. And I mean, look, there's a lot of fantastic shot making, a lot of fantastic games this weekend, so please make sure to tune in and to share that link so others can as well.
As we start the 4th end, we can see Team Odishaw continuing to put pressure on Team Comeau. Rock top button, wonderful shot by Grant Odishaw, and then the guard just outside the ring, so therefore in the free guard zone, therefore cannot be removed. It can be touched, it can be maneuvered, but it cannot be removed. In response, Comeau's put up a corner guard and is now coming down to Grant Odishaw's guard and just bumping it to the back of the rings. Very close to going through. If it had gone through the house beyond the back line, it could have been taken back and replaced where it had been initially.
Yes, indeed, but as we mentioned, Zach Blanchard, that's a pretty good option there, moving it. However, he would have liked his shooter to roll a little further than it did.
Yes.
Still partially burying, having that yellow stone still partially buried around around the guard.
And after this shot by Jordan Pinder, it might be double guarded. You might have a yellow guard on the center line or their boats.
Grant Odishaw communicating the weight to Terry. Always good to see really good communication, but this rock is over curling. And we'll just tap Zach Blanchard's stone he had just thrown.
Right, so if you're sitting in the hack and you're ready to throw here, if you're Jordan Kraft, what you're looking at is a rock that's essentially completely open, but you only can get it from this side. He's not throwing a takeout, he's throwing a draw down to it. Probably a tap back, Will, do you think?
Yeah, just try and move that rock, try and make it life a little easier for you if you're Team Comeau. This is a little heavy. Once again, Jordan Kraft throwing a lot of rotation with a lot of weight, and with that, will bump off of the guard, but his stone rolls to a pretty good spot.
That's what you call Plan B. Some cases you're further down the alphabet than that, but that was a Plan B. They were alert to the possible rub. Now, Derry's looking at coming down to that rock. As we saw on yesterday when Terry was playing the Hansen team, he doesn't follow the usual approach to a big lead, or in this case a 4-point lead, of throwing a lot of takeouts. He keeps the pressure on by putting more and more rocks into play. And with a less experienced rake like Comeau, they got to deal with this. And they can. They know the game.
Can,
yeah. They know the game. They can throw good rocks, but this is the way Terry's approaching. Here you are. You're up 4, and you have 2, 4, 6, 7 rocks in play already.
So Zach Blanchard's going to call the double and hopefully roll away
to the right.
This may be a better shot for the way Jordan Kraft's throwing them right now. And gets that double and the
Lovely
roll.
shot. Lovely shot.
Really good by Jordan Kraft. That definitely helps the confidence going into the next end for him throwing at second.
I suppose if you could have had one more wish answered on that rock, it would have been a bit more of a roll to the right. Because there is a possibility of hitting that rock that's just been thrown and rolling over and hitting the rear end, if you will, the back end of the rock. That's number 2.
So Terry Odishaw is going to ask Mike Kennedy to throw the hit and roll that Andy's just alluded to. And
what kind of weight do you think?
Well, with that ice, you're throwing up weight. You're trying to catch the back of it, like you said.
Yeah.
And maybe get rid of it. If not, try and move it out.
Well, this is curling. Grant's sweeping hard.
Just nosing that stone. Actually rolls the other way.
Yeah, that's the roll that Comeau's looking for. But again, that's a useful rock for Comeau as well as for Grant Odishaw, or Terry Odishaw.
So Zach Blanchard just going to ask Ryan Fries to come down right beside her to the corner of this rock.
Corner frozen, number 1, or number 2, I should say. This looks.
Now this is when you decide whether you're going to go around it. Whether
Yes.
they need to decide or not is another question, because this seems fairly heavy.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Not what Ryan Fries would have wanted.
And it's totally out. If it had stopped back of the rings, it would have been okay. It certainly wasn't the call. If it had stopped top 12, it would have been something you could maneuver. You can't do anything with those 2 rocks at the back outside the rings. All they can serve to do is be catchers.
So now with Ryan Fries throwing his first rock through, Mike Kennedy is going to play this peel weight. He's going to try and hit this yellow stone closer to the center line side of the rock, and try and get rid of both of those blues, if not at least the guard. Once again, this curling right out of Mike Kennedy's hand. Needs to stay straight, and just over hurls, and the yellow stone will stay there for a guard.
And it's useful for a raceback for Odishaw, but it's also a guard for Comeau as well. What Mike did there essentially was replace 2 guards with 1 guard, but it is still a guard.
So Ryan Fries gets another attempt at
Right.
the same shot he had just thrown.
Same shot twice. Generally, good curlers, and Ryan's a good curler, will make this shot.
Sweepers on it all the way.
Certainly not heavy. It's about line. There's a hard curl just about now, if you folks can see. He's getting very close to the guard.
Coming down pretty quickly.
Actually over curled to what they were hoping. It's not a bad result, but they were really hoping it'd be number 2, outcount that yellow one. The freeze aspect was good, but there was a big curl there, Will.
Yeah, and it doesn't really help Rene Comeau's team. It's not in a good spot, because point of trying to corner freeze to that is that if you can sit there, you might be able to get to it afterwards and just tap the yellow stone out, and maybe get 2 or 3 points, which Team Comeau definitely want.
Definitely.
But overcurling there makes life a little more difficult.
The difference between an excellent result and a disappointing result on that rock is about 8 inches leftward.
Mm-hmm.
It would be corner frozen on the yellow. It would be number 2, and Derry would have a bit of a quandary what to do, because removing number 1 here is it's easy enough to remove, but you're not going to stay there. You're going to be rolling to the right yourself.
Discussion here between Mike Kennedy and Terry Odishaw as to what to do.
And the roll.
Because there is danger here looming with some of, there's 2 blue stones in the house. So just trying to decide what to do with the roll here. Because you don't want to sit wide open, but you also don't want to roll into your own. So this is definitely a bit of a tricky roll for Terry, and I'm not sure there really is a good roll for him, if I'm being honest.
No.
Because either way, there's going to be a hit and roll under the guard for Team Comeau, or a double for Team Comeau. Pretty well whichever way you go.
You can tell it's tricky because there's been a lot of discussion about what might appear to most of us as a fairly straightforward shot. It's not. It's really a case of not only removing the rock, but what are you going to leave Rene after you do make this shot? Kind of the snuckers. Not only what you make, it's what you leave. This is very close to rubbing the guard, but it gets by.
Not the best of rolls.
No, actually, it leaves a double possibility to lie 2, does it not?
There is a double.
But then it will leave a double for Terry, I suppose, as well.
Well, I don't know if it leaves a double for Terry. The angles are all right for Rene Comeau in this situation.
Okay.
Just because there's not enough of the blue sticking out on the outside side of that guard.
That's true.
To get that double. Terry still standing in the middle of the sheet. Now moving out of the way for Rene Comeau to throw.
Now Rene's last rock was a takeout. It was an in-turn. This will be an out-turn. And he turned it a little bit inside, Will. He didn't turn it. He just slid narrow, I believe. So it'll be interesting. You're closer to center line than I am.
Now you can afford to turn it in a little here because you have some wiggle room to play with in terms of the double.
That's true.
What you never want to do is pop it out, because nosing is not at all good.
They're sweeping this hard.
I don't know why.
I don't know either.
That's
pretty good.
That's a good outcome. The Yellowstone's still there, which is not ideal, but Terry's got to be pretty careful with where he's drawing here, because if he goes deep at all, there may be a double for 3 for Rene Comeau. If he leaves it high and a little open, there might be a double for 3 for Rene Comeau. So Terry Odishaw has got to be very careful where he places this stone. Ideally, right just above the tee line in the forefoot on the left side of center line on your sheet. Would be pretty well the best spot you could put it. And if you wanted to make it perfect, if we're going to get into the technical side of it, if you can put this dead even with the stone that Rene Comeau just threw, that's the perfect outcome.
Yeah, about a foot above the tee line on the other side of center.
Sweeper's definitely really important in this shot.
Yeah.
If it is deep, you gotta go right away to make sure it's back 8. That's not really good.
No. I think it's good enough to leave Rene a shot for 2. I don't think he'd risk anything else.
Rene sees the option I mentioned earlier. It's a fairly, in the grand scheme of doubles or long doubles, it's a fairly easy double. He's saying he sees half a rock.
I don't know if he does from the hack, however.
You just need to hit a quarter of that rock, really, to roll over and get the other yellow.
Yeah. It's a real risk-reward situation because he'll be hitting if he's, let's say he's close. If he is close and he hits the blue, he'll get rid of the yellow number 3 rock, but then he's going to somehow get rid of that number 1 shot.
Well, you have a pretty decent chance for 3 here if you're Rene Comeau, so coming back from giving up a 4-ender, that might be very well in his mind of just trying to get a few points back rather than getting 2 or 1 back. And that'll definitely be very helpful for trying to claw back from this 4-point deficit he's in right now. If he can throw this similarly to what he just threw, same path, team knows what the ice is going to do here. There's a really good chance for Rene Comeau if he makes a good shot to score 3.
They've had a discussion, a team discussion, so the team is in agreement on this. That's important.
Because it is a risk-reward.
Well, it is a risk-reward, and if you have teammates that really don't like the shot, then it puts doubt in the skip's mind. Rene is the last rock thrower.
No doubt here.
He's got to have, exactly, no doubt. He's got to throw a nice, clean rock. He did previously.
Pretty good out of his hand.
Goodwill.
Just gotta keep it straight here, boys. Not a lot of handle.
He's on the
and
guard.
That's why he's on that guard. So he will give up a steal of 1. Not as clean of a throw from Rene Comeau for his last rock here in the 4th end, giving up a steal of 1. So the lead now for Terry Odishaw's team out of Carl Moncton is 5 points now. 6-1 for Terry Odishaw going into the 5th end. And Rene Comeau will have hammer once again.
On neighboring sheets, on sheet 3, Jones got a 2 in the 4th end and are now ahead 2-1 versus Trevor Hansen. On sheet 2, Kane is still up 5-3 on Sear. And on sheet 1, Roach is still up 1-0 on Granton. Now, the last 2 scores I gave you were updated to the end of the 3rd end. They are in the 5th end, so I might have an update here in a moment. We sneaked the occasional peek over at neighboring sheets, and sheet 2, Ryan Kane is continuing what is a theme here. And the teams that play Ryan can expect to have lots of rocks in play. In the previous end there, I believe there were 8 rocks in play. One time in their game last night, there were all 16 rocks in play. In our game, Comeau's looking for a long guard. They're sweeping hard to get it just across. So he has a long center guard. Maybe it's too long, actually, because if you want to draw to the button on that side, that rock is in the way. On the other hand, the Odishaw team, Grant, instead of throwing top 4, went to back 4. Still a good rock, but there is a big difference between being top 4 versus back 4 in terms of being able to freeze to it. And now Grant is attempting to throw a guard on his number 1 shot, and he has done that quite nicely. He's splitting the center line just short of the 12-foot. It is in the free guard zone, and again cannot be removed. It can be nudged sideways, but it cannot be removed.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're just gonna be getting into the thick of this fifth end here now. Score still not up from the fourth end, but as you're with us, you'll be well aware of what happened. So plenty of rocks in play once again. Terry Odishaw, as we've alluded to, likes to play with a lot of rocks, and Rene Comeau happy to play an aggressive game as well. However, we're witnessing how well that's worked out so far. And so far it's worked in favor of Terry Odishaw's team rather than Rene Comeau's team, but once again, still a 10-end game, lots of curling left. Jordan Pinder throwing up weight here. Try and get the back rocks, but just roll over to be a corner guard and miss the rocks in the back of the house. So in a deficit like this, Rene Comeau and Zach Blanchard calling the game here for Team Rene Comeau is definitely going to be looking for as many opportunities to leave rocks in the house that are his in good positions that could help him score a big end. A 3-ender would be really good right about now. For Rene Comeau's team if they want to get back in this game. Had a good chance for 3 in the last end, however, just missing out on that chance. But we'll be attempting to try and get a 3-ender again here, or try and get a 3-ender period here in this 5th end against Terry Odishaw. Terry will be more than well aware of that. So across on sheet 1 now, James Grattan has scored 1 in the 4th end to tie it up against Roach. That's 1-1 in the 5th. Lots of rocks in play over there. An all Capital Winter Club game on sheet 2 this afternoon between Team Ed Sear and Team Ryan Kane. If you're in Fredericton, there's 3 Capital Winter Club, 2 Capital Winter Club teams, in this tournament, which is fantastic for the club here. So please come on down and support them. Always nice to have good curlers coming out of our home club here. And it is 5-4 for Ryan Kane going into the 5th end. Ed Sears scoring a single point in the 4th end. Prior to that, an exchange of a deuce followed by a 3-ender and another 3-ender, respectively, between Ryan Kane and Ed Sears' team. And then on sheet 3 now, you can probably hear some of the yelling going on over there. Scott Jones is leading Ryan Hansen's team, 2-1 going into the 5th end. That score is about to be updated shortly. And meanwhile, on our sheet here on ice 4, as I said before, the goal here for Rene Comeau's team is just to try and get some rocks in tricky places. To try and make your chances of a 3-ender or more easier. And so far, so good for Rene Comeau and Zach Blanchard calling the game here. As there are 3 blues in the house in decent positions.
Mike Kennedy's throwing.
Asked to hit and roll here. If you get a double, that's a bonus. And he just might. And he does. Once again, Mike Kennedy, take a bow.
Yeah.
That was
2 ends in a row now.
That's another cross-house double he's made.
But what you do is you persevere, and that's what the Comeau team is doing. There is a yellow corner guard. Ryan Fries will try to draw behind it. He's had quite good weight, so this should be a close result.
Maybe too easy to say that Ryan Fries is good at shots kind of like a freeze, but
yes.
That's just me. Just coming up a little light here, though.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. So at the moment, they The Comeau team were on the wrong side of the inch. That rock was, it didn't, all it needed to do was be a biter. Now Terry is going to address the center line pairing. Probably looking for a nose hit, what do you think, Will?
Yeah, that seems to be what he's indicated that he wants.
That will result in Mike Kennedy's rock being frozen to the blue one with the back yellow one gone.
Which for Terry Odishaw's team right now is the ideal situation. Always best to have the opposing team's stone at the very back so you can get rid of it if need be.
This is curling hard. He got exactly what he wanted there.
Another nice shot from Mike Kennedy in this game, playing well.
And unfortunately, with Ryan Freese's rock coming up short and Mike's removal of the back yellow, play is now going to be around the 4-foot for the next shot or two. And to get a multiple, you know, a 2 or 3 ender, you've got to bring into play some rocks off to the side.
So Ryan Freese will try to freeze to this yellow stone.
This is curling hard again.
Cannot be sitting open in the house.
It's going to be beside it, is it not?
Which is not great either. However, it will come further back, which will probably keep Terry from playing on it. However, it might just hit to be safe, which he will. That's the conservative option in this situation.
I think the blue went far enough back that there's no double, that you could hit that yellow-blue combination thin and roll onto the blue open one just thrown.
Yeah, I don't think that's there either, but
no, it's not really necessary either at this
No.
point. All you need to do is take the simple shot, get rid of the blue.
so Terry Odishaw will try and either hit and roll or nose hit this blue stone. Either's okay. Nose isn't ideal.
Jordan Pender indicated that weight was up, but Grant is sweeping it, so it's in the ballpark for sure. Good result, nice roll.
However, we'll give Ryan Freese, or rather Zach Blanchard now, an opportunity to call Rene Comeau over to that side. As Andy was mentioning before, you want to try and get to the sides to try and score multiple in this end. And Terry Odishaw has just given Rene Comeau that opportunity. Seemingly trying to throw back 12 kind of weight. Tap that yellow, moving the blue and roll over towards the rock that Terry had just thrown.
The ice call is more or less for a 3-foot curl here. So again, that's an indication that the weight will be, as Will says, back a ring, maybe just a bit beyond that in terms of weight. Nice throw by Rene.
Seems to be good weight. Sweepers on it, off and on. Curling, however, not much handle on it. Might roll the other way.
It's over curling. It's the call was for a 3-foot curl. We got a 4-foot curl here.
However, both blues stay in.
They do.
But there might, I don't know if there's
a double.
They're checking to see if there's enough space for Mike Kennedy hopping up and down back there, trying to figure out if there's enough space for a double here without getting rid of your own.
Yeah. When Rene was in the hack, he asked for less ice. Originally, Zach had his broom at the edge of the 8-foot, and then he brought it in a bit. And probably the original broom would have been fine in terms of the rock that was thrown.
Which is always a situation as a thrower when you feel like you need a little less or a little more ice, and you throw and suddenly you didn't. You're always kicking yourself a little after that.
Yeah. It's especially the case when you were the last rock thrower. Although in this situation, of course, Rene is not in the rings for most of the end, so he doesn't have the chance that Zach has to read the ice and learn from it.
So they're going to try this here now. Just going to try and get a little bit of a roll is okay for Terry Odishaw here. Throwing peel weight. Maybe just a little more than normal. Not anything excessive.
No.
Jordan Pinder trying to hit it a little thicker, trying to get it to curl.
Little direction sweeping, yeah.
Get it thin. Pushes the yellow back.
And rolls out.
Almost onto that blue stone.
So Rene, the force is on for sure. Rene is confronted with a house where yellow is lying 1. He's number 2, but really there's no way for him to get a 2-ender here.
No, going to be forced to 1 here, which is quite literally the worst option for in terms of Rene Comeau scoring in this end, in this 5th end. But if he scores as 1, you know, put your head down, talk about how you're going to get back into this game in the 5th end break and come out guns a-blazing in the 6th end, and you never know what can happen. Always a chance to recuperate during that 5th end break.
Rene's taking 2 feet of ice, so this will have a bit more weight than this first one did.
Indicated that the weight is down.
What would you say that was? Board weight, Will?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
bit more.
Board weight, maybe a hair more. Knew he had a little bit of
Nice shot.
wiggle room.
Nice shot. It was a weight that he was comfortable with. The throw looked good. However, it was only for 1.
So Rene Comeau will score 1 in this 5th end here, and make the score, I believe, 6 to 2.
6 to 2. It's a comfortable position for the Odishaw team. However, there's going to be opportunities, I'm sure. Even this last end, Will, there were opportunities for Rene to get more than 1. Actually, 2 or 3 at one point, but...
So with the end of this 5th end, we're going to take our short hiatus for the 5th end break, and we'll be back in a few moments.
Okay.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, ready for this second half of our third draw here at the Capital Winter Club in Fredericton with Team Rene Comeau and Team Terry Odishaw playing. Once again, Terry Odishaw has, and his team out of Crow-Moncton have yellow stones. And Team Rene Comeau and his team, based out of Thistle St. Andrews and St. John, are throwing the blue stones with hammer. Oh, sorry, no, without hammer. Team Odishaw has hammer in this end. Rene Comeau calling a center guard to try and get a couple of steals here, starting off the second half of this game.
Yes, we're well into the midpoint of the game, obviously, being 5 ends out of 10. So in the next 5 ends, Rene's got to find a way to discover 4 points to tie up the game. At this midpoint here, it'd probably be good to give you folks at home an idea of the scores in the other games. On sheet 1, the score is 4-1 for Roach over Grattan. On sheet, and that's after 5 ends, and on sheet 2, it is 5-4 Kane over Sear after 5 ends. And on sheet 3, we're well into the 6th end. The score is 3-2 Hanson over Jones. And in our game, it's 6-2, which is probably it is the biggest spread of any of the 4 games at the moment. However, we have seen through the game thus far, both teams have had opportunities to score. The only one that was really captured by a team was by Odishaw in the 3rd end when they got a 4-ender.
So yeah, while we start off this 6th end, give just a little bit of notice. There are event passes available here at the Capital Winter Club in Fredericton. If you're in and around the area, please come on down to take in some of the curling. There are draws today. This is the 1 p.m. draw. There's also a 7 p.m. draw tonight, so please, that'd be a great way of ending off your Thursday to come down to the Capital Winter Club and watch some good curling. Our feature game for the 7 p.m. draw will be James Grattan versus Ryan Kane. Ryan Kane, of course, based out of the Capital Winter Club. So that will definitely be a good game, so be sure to tune in for that, or if you're in the area, as I said, please come on down to the Capital Winter Club. Event passes are available at the front door when you walk in.
$5 per game, $10 per day, and $20 for the event.
And on Friday, happy hours at 4:30, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to end the week off on a high note, happy hours on at 4:30. There is some good food downstairs, so some craft and draft beer down there as well, along with some fantastic people down there at the bar to serve you. However, also Friday night, the party doesn't stop. There's a 7 p.m. draw, yet at 9 p.m., going all the way until 1 a.m., there is the Maritime Kitchen Party, supported by Grimross and Pebbler's Pub here, featuring local artist Ivan Daigle. So please come on down to that. Admission is free, and I heard some rumblings that there's going to be some pretty good 2-for-1 deals for drinks. So by all means, come on down to the Capital Winter Club this week and this weekend. Lots of fantastic things going on. And we have some breaking news hot off the presses here at the Capital Winter Club relating to all of this. So Pebbler's Pub downstairs is the name for our bar. However, Picaroons, very good local draft brewery, has come up with a new pale ale specifically for Pebbler's Pub here at the Capital Winter Club. Probably the only curling club in the region, I would venture a guess, that has a craft brewery naming a specific beer they're making after the club for us, and that is the Pebbler's Pale Ale. So please, if you're in the area, come on down to check that out and support Picaroons, who is a great partner along with some of our other partners here at the club.
Well, you and I'll have to try one of those right after the match here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Not during the match, of course.
No, we not during the match. We're trying to give the best broadcast content we can for
Right.
folks at home or at work, wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in to 360 Live, powered by Bell Alliant, to watch this stream today.
Well, certainly after the break, the Comeau team has come out with a bit of a spark in their eyes because they're putting the Odishaw team into deep discussions here about how to deal with some rocks that have been thrown up. There was a center guard. It is gone, but again, it's complicated.
It's also worth noting that Team Odishaw is, if you've been paying close attention, they've been taking their sweet time for a lot of different shots, a lot of discussion, particularly between Mike Kennedy and Terry Odishaw, and some shots. Terry, once again, taking a second and third look before Jordan Pinder throws this stone. These games are timed, and Terry Odishaw well behind Team Rene Comeau in terms of time right now. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We'll let you know what's going on with that as the game progresses.
Takeout here, big weight takeout, looking for the double.
Moves the guard over,
Yeah.
which is a decent result. However, still sits in front of Rene Comeau's stone, which is shot. Ryan Free's probably going to be guarding this as well.
Yes, center line. Clutter is good for the Comeau team at the moment. More rocks in play, the better.
Yeah,
We see the throw underway here. The sweepers seem to be quite pleased with it.
Yeah, no. When you're throwing these guards, you got a little bit of leeway because the most important thing is the line. You can be a little deep, you can be a little light, as long as it's on the right path. That's all you can ask for and all you can hope for.
And as a matter of fact, right now, you could argue that the most dangerous blue rock is the one just thrown. Because the one back 4 foot is accessible, and again, it's behind the tee line, which means you can come down to it, use it as backing. So it's not as good a rock as maybe you would think on first observation. The center line guard is the danger rock. But it looks like Odishaw is ignoring that guard and asking Mike Kennedy to come right down to the pair, the pocket.
That seems to be the idea. Whether he'll move that stone, and with this weight he will.
Yes, for sure. This is not a draw.
Once again, this path is taken off almost every time when Mike Kennedy's thrown down this path.
Makes you wonder if he might have a bit of a cutter rock, as they call them.
One may wonder, yes.
Good result, getting rid of the pocket at the back, but still lots of rocks in play. And as I mentioned, clutter and rocks in play is a good thing for the Comeau team.
Yeah, Team Comeau may have a bit of a grin because now there are 2 rocks in the back of the house that are only helpful to them, really, at least at this juncture in the end, because makes life a little more difficult, a little more tricky for Terry Odishaw trying to get rid of these blue stones.
Yeah, and they're trying to draw behind. They're making use of the blue centerline guard, and actually that top 4 or top 12-foot yellow rock is also a guard. So they've added to it. Nothing wrong with that result.
Not exactly what they called for, what they wanted, but as you said, it's not a bad result. Certainly not ideal. You want to try and get into the house at this point in the end, buried behind guards. However, Ryan Free's coming up short, but gives Rene Comeau a chance to try and draw around this mess that's now developed in the front of the house. But Mike Kennedy will get that chance first.
It's not caught the curl yet, Will.
Well,
there it goes.
His path was further out.
Yes.
So it's going to run a little straighter, a little quicker. And it does.
That's again, if you're the Comeau team, you do not mind that rock at all because it's something to freeze to. Of course, you have to make the shots. I mean, the fact of the matter is that Odishaw is lying 4 at the moment and showing a willingness to keep adding to the pile. But if Comeau can get one in there, and it's very difficult to remove, there could be a steal on. Clearly, however, you know, when you're down 6-2, you've got to find ways to get multiples, not just singles.
So Rene Comeau is going to try and freeze down to this yellow stone that Mike Kennedy's just thrown.
He's taken just over 4 feet of ice for curl.
Just like Mike Kennedy's, it is staying out there. It's a path that's a little further out than they've
Sweeper should
thrown.
be alert. It's starting to cut hard. Will.
It might be a little heavy though. It's definitely trying to come down.
Right, Freeze is trying to help it curl a little bit. That was about a foot heavy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's not a bad result for Rene Comeau. It's tough to get rid of, as I said earlier. Those rocks in the very back of the house now are an issue for Terry Odishaw, because you can't remove that blue stone now unless you try and just pick it out sideways, and even then that's tough. So he's just going to try and tap this back with probably back 12 weight. Sit in front of where that blue stone is currently, and hopefully tap it back to try and sit 2, ideally 3. But sitting 2 would at least be the goal here for Terry Odishaw.
And because the weight's going to be a little bit heavier, you notice that Terry is taking 3 feet of ice rather than the 4 feet that Rene took.
And seems to be throwing probably around backline weight. However, once again, this is a little bit of a tighter path, similar to what Mike Kennedy threw on his first stone. So it should pick up on a little more curl, and it's definitely trying, but it has a little more weight. As I said,
there you go.
There's the danger stones. There's a bit of a wall developing back there. So Rene Comeau has a chance to, if he can get the roll inside and sit 2, really put some pressure on Terry Odishaw for the first time in a little bit here now.
What weight do you think he's going to throw? He's taking about 3 feet of, well, it's less than 3 feet of ice, Will.
Well, if you can throw around backline weight and get to the inside, I think they've just watched what Terry threw for his stone, and have adjusted their ice accordingly, hoping that takes a similar path, similar amount of curl, and hoping that that'll be enough to get the inside roll, whereas Terry hit the outside part of the stone.
The risk here is rubbing the guards as you catch the curl.
Yes, and Rene Comeau has already had enough of rubbing the guard this game.
He certainly has. That's what led to the 4-ender. But it is curling hard.
He may have more of the guard here in a moment.
That was the risk.
And that is not good. Not good at all for Rene Comeau. So
How much will be the damage here? At least Odishaw is already lying 1. Terry is. He's got a rock in the hack. One positive thing out of a disappointing shot for Comeau is where that blue rolled. The path is not the easiest for a draw for 2. I don't think they're going to play any kind of weight shot, Will, to try to get rid of that blue.
There's no sense or reason to it. Someone excited at home may be thinking there's some kind of double there, but there's no sense in that. You're up 4 with hammer in the 6th end, and the even ends. Just score.
Just score.
Just put a score.
You just forced Rene to a 1, and now you're going to get 2. That's very good math for the Odishaw team.
Yeah, especially trying to prevent a lead. You warned at the beginning of this game, if Team Odishaw got in front of Rene Comeau, there might be a bit of difficulty between the experience levels for Rene Comeau trying to claw back a lead.
Yeah.
And we're just seeing some of that come to fruition here.
It's shown in some of the calls too, Will. That last shot, he threw light for the ice that he'd given himself. And again, Rene through his junior career was at the Capital Winter Club, but he's now based at Thistle St. Andrews. He might have reverted to home ice. We're seeing something similar here with Terry. He's not taking any great gamble. He's taking his one.
Yeah, no, he was definitely trying for the draw for two, but like some of the other shots, it did just overbend and come to a grinding halt. So Terry Odishaw is only going to get his one, but as I said, putting a score up for him was perfectly fine. You're up now at this point. You're up 5, going into the 7th.
With 4 ends to go.
Yeah, with 4 ends to go, you have Hammer in the even ends. Rene Comeau and his team, with Zach Blanchard calling most of the shots, is going to be focused on scoring multiples rather than what end they're scoring in at this point. So with Terry, you have a little bit of leeway, a little bit of comfort now. So we'll see how that works out as we go forward in these last few ends.
There's a measure underway on sheet 3 on the Hansen-Jones game.
And I believe that that measure resulted in Team Scott Jones from Crow-Moncton getting 2 points in that 6th end to make it 4-3 for him over Hansen.
And in the sheet 2 game, which is Sear and Kane.
Kane is up 6-4.
Right, they got 1 in the 6th.
In the 7th here now.
And in the sheet 1 game, which is
Grattan and Roach,
it is
4-1
for Roach.
Yeah.
A big 3-ender.
To open that game right up. They had exchanged ones in the first half of that game and ended off the first half of the game with a 3-ender for Roach.
In our game, Grant Odishaw continues to float the rocks into the top of the rings and followed by a guard. Though in this case, both the guard and the draw end up in the same spot. They're more or less frozen together.
Which isn't an awful result. You may not have wanted that, but when you're up 5 points, you know, it's perfectly okay to put your first 2 in the middle in the rings, because as you can see here, Zach Blanchard's going to be forced to throw behind the corner guard, which is an incredibly long corner guard. Not as useful, but still a guard nonetheless. So he's going to be throwing another corner guard around it, which gives Terry Odishaw's team a chance to guard those 2 yellow stones in the rings.
And again, by continually attacking the center, the button area, the 4-foot area, Terry continues to put pressure on Rene. It's hard to avoid the distraction posed by your opponent line 1, 2, 3.
So Terry Odishaw now electing to play a lightweight hit on this blue stone that Zach Blanchard just thrown over curling. Sticks out the other side of that, once again, really, really long corner guard. And the reason why I emphasize that is because those corner guards, when you're playing these kinds of lightweight hits, you almost act as if they're not even there, because it's really, really easy to curl around them on this quality ice we have here.
As a matter of fact, you could argue, Will, that if you touched that guard, you would have missed a shot anyway.
Yeah.
Look at the result here. The way this is
He's
going to be a
getting
nose
roll
hit.
in.
Yes, it's actually rolled.
Buried.
Yeah. the long guard. It's one of those things. If you can discipline yourself to ignore it, that rock really isn't in play.
So that's a very good result there from Jordan Pinder.
Again, Zach is trying to go to the wings.
Yeah, so Jordan Kraft throwing here now is going to try and draw around the Yellowstone Jordan Pinder had just thrown, which tells you how important it is for them to get their multiple on this end. Really going This is a whole nother level of aggressive here now, but when you're down 5, kind of have to. I believe they're sitting shot rock as well.
Lovely shot, lovely rock.
So that was very, very good from Jordan Kraft.
Terry's just going to get rid of the clutter out front.
Yeah, and you know, for those at home going, well, I thought you said that guard didn't really do much. Well, no, it didn't for the first few rocks, but now it makes getting access to that blue stone Jordan Kraft had just thrown pretty tricky, because you need to come at it from the other turn, and that's when the guard comes into play. This is just trying to simplify things. No need to get into a messy end.
This more or less confirms that from now on the play, well, the majority of the play will be on or very close to the rings, as shown by Zach's tapping in front, and actually around the forefoot. So it's going to be very difficult, if this continues, for the Comeau team to get any more than 1 or 2.
Yeah, and Terry Odishaw, in both teams have played a very aggressive game thus far, but now Terry Odishaw really doesn't have any other choice but to just play defensive, preserve the lead, get rid of the other team's stones. You know, if they score 2, that's fine. If you're Terry Odishaw, you're not really worried if they score 2. If they score 3 or 4, you're definitely thinking about it, but not a lot of, as I said at the beginning of this end, a little sense of comfort here for Terry Odishaw, but can't get complacent with that. Yeah. That's where their experience comes in.
And their long guard.
It's about a foot further than than Zach Blanchard's guard was, but still not the best spot in terms of positioning for the stone.
Terry is calling for a takeout. I think probably the desired result would be yellow on the blue run back, but Terry will be quite happy just to get rid of the yellow, open up things, simplify. Whoops, kind of
Mike Kennedy stumbling a little there out of the hack.
Yeah, high speed wobble there.
Trying to.
Yeah, Grant's trying to make it curl. I think we have a miss.
And through the goalpost for Mike Kennedy. That speed wobble definitely didn't help.
Now, what will Zach call for? Something filling in the hole. The number 1 rock is behind. It's behind the yellow. So if you could overlap, yeah, showing what is.
Now the problem here for Zach Blanchard is, despite being down 5, you can't just lose all rational sense of what to do. And the team down there trying to figure out how they can get their 2 or 3 or more, and they've decided to go beside this yellow stone on the left-hand side of the sheet to try and sit and give them an option for something they can do later. But Ryan Freese just over-curling a little, may have been a little light.
It's not a bad result, though. If you came down and hit half that blue, the yellow it's frozen to would go, and you would go in towards the other 2 yellows on the center line.
And that's probably a better result than what the shot was called for,
right.
Because if the problem is, if you sit open, like Zach Blanchard had called, there's a pretty obviously easy hit for a double for Team Odishaw, which is the complete opposite of what Rene Comeau's team is looking to do right now. You don't want to leave those kinds of shots when you're trying to score multiples.
Again, Terry, this is a very aggressive play by the Odishaw team. They are not playing a lot of takeouts. They're just piling in more rocks and more or less challenging Zach and Rene to do something about it.
Now they're tapping the blue stone that Ryan Freese has just thrown, which may give Rene Comeau's team some options here. Their blue is very much the
number 1.
Safely number 1. But now it's about trying to become number 2 as well. So Ryan Freese is going to try and draw around these 2 yellows on the right-hand side of the sheet, and sit in the forefoot. Try to be buried as well, but this is really trying to take off here now.
Yeah, what we're looking at here is
it's coming pretty close. It'll just rub, but will roll in to be second shot. However, it is wide open.
Yeah, it's either second or first. It might actually be first.
Yeah.
Will.
Yeah, it's probably first.
Yeah. Now,
Question is, apparently Terry Odishaw would like to ask the question as to whether there's a double. I'm not sure if there's enough room for you to get that double there, Terry, but there is some air on the other side, so there very well may be. But
was he looking at yellow on yellow?
well, the yellow on yellow is there for the run back. Try and get rid of what is now second shot, but I'm not sure it makes too much sense for Terry.
No. It's really unfortunate that the freeze rock did not make it around, because the overlaps on those rocks at the top of the rings are not useful for Odishaw at all. Really a mess, considering that you're up 7-2.
Terry Odishaw throwing his first rock of this seventh end.
Here we go.
Throwing a control weight hit, trying to get the roll.
Yeah, if he gets the flip in, then the end is...
He's now all over the yellow, I think. Yeah, just rubs the guard and still gets it. Not what they wanted, because now Rene Comeau's going to be able to hit and roll and get a bit of a flop underneath of this mess of yellows.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of room, though. That was fortunate for Terry that it didn't roll at all to the right. If it had, then the hit and roll in would have been quite straightforward. This is going to have to be a bit of a precision shot, I think. A complete team shot. The sweepers and person in the house, Zach, will have to be guiding this rock to try to get the roll. Rene has thrown this type of shot quite well this game. He's had trouble with some of his takeouts.
Yeah, this
looks like it's going early.
Yeah, well, this seems to be pretty light for what they were thinking about. This is closer to back 12 weight.
Gracious, it's going to be fully on the yellow.
You need to throw like a hack weight shot at that, and that's not at all what Rene threw.
Is Rene still number one?
I don't know. They're looking to see if he is or isn't.
Again, an overhead camera could tell us, but I got a feeling that Rene just raised them up to be number one.
Yeah,
it is yellow.
Team Odishaw calling timeout. As we said earlier, they are indeed taking their time here.
On neighboring sheets, we see a score of 4-3. Is it now between
Roach and Grattan?
Roach and Grattan, with Roach
one.
Still ahead, yes. And on sheet 2, between Sear and Kane, Kane is up 6-4. And on sheet 3, it is 4-3 for Jones over Hansen. And in our game, we're 7-2. But you wouldn't think the game was that lopsided when you look at all the rocks in play on this sheet.
No, there's rocks in play on pretty well every sheet except for sheet 1 right now. There's a bit of a mess.
Long discussion. The clock, well, you mentioned that the Odishaw team doesn't have a whole lot of time. Of course, if they score a multiple here, steal a multiple here, the game will be close to concession, I guess. Maybe that's what they're gambling.
Well, we're being told that Team Odishaw has 9 minutes and 33 seconds left for these last 4 ends. I'll reiterate, 4 ends. So the end of this end here, and then 3 more afterwards, which is definitely an uncomfortable amount of time to have left. You normally take about 3 minutes-ish for if you're playing quickly for each end, and they are certainly not playing quickly. So
that actually brings up an interesting question. Could Comeau win this game by
running them out of time.
Running
Yes,
them out of time.
they couldn't. They don't necessarily win if they run them out of time. However, they kind of do, because when you run out of time, you can no longer throw any stones. However, the other team can continue throwing until the game is over.
So a couple 8-enders might get you back in contention.
That would be the case. So Team Odishaw may be very experienced, but just because you're experienced doesn't mean you get to sip on some tea while you're waiting to throw your rock.
Right. Well, I'm looking at the bumper there. There's 5 rocks out of play and 1 rock to come. So there's 10 rocks. Well, 9 rocks on or around the rings with 1 long guard. Gracious.
So Comeau is there might be an angle raise for that blue to try and get 2, which is what they're trying.
Yeah.
It's tough, but I think you can see enough of that blue, and you only need to hit a whisker of it in order to get your 2 here. So might as well try. Once again, down 5 in the 7th end. You need to try this kind of a shot to get your 2. And try and chip away at the deficit. And at the very, very back of your mind, behind what you're having for supper, is where you're sitting there thinking about the time of the other team.
Right.
Not even a consideration right now for Rene Comeau.
And really, the game, just to stress it again, the game has actually been quite close. If it wasn't for the 4-ender, we'd be talking about a game with quite a close score. Here we go. Are we by the guard?
Well,
boy, that's the theme of the game right there.
Rene Comeau won't be buying any lottery tickets anytime soon because he's been...
And they do shake hands.
Wrecking on that guard. So, yes, it's handshakes here in the 7th end. So, all that time stuff may not matter now, but for anyone supporting Team Terry Odishaw, you might want to pay attention to that going forward. However, right now in the games across the rest of our sheets is Team Jones and Hansen in their 7th end, which is not over yet. It is 4-3 for Jones. On sheet 2, where we have all Fredericton Capital Winter Club game between Sear and Kane, it is
tied, I think.
Yes, we're in the 8th end.
Alex Robichaud's in our way here.
Yes, Alex. For anyone who knows Alex Robichaud, he's a big guy. Hard to see through him. So
now Ryan Kane's, Adam McDonald's in the way. There we go.
Okay, so
6-6.
it is. Yes, it is 6-6. All kinds of points scored. We were telling you earlier, folks, that there's a high-scoring affair over here on sheet 2, and there's a lot of really exciting and really good curling. So definitely a really good back and forth all Fredericton game on sheet 2. So for anyone in the area, can't really give you any better reason to come down to the Capital Winter Club and watch.
Yeah, so
we're going to shift our coverage over for you to sheet 3 now. The
Hansen,
where we have Hansen and Jones. So just to give you some information on Hansen and Jones, just starting the 8th end here. Team Scott Jones was on our featured sheet last night, so if you're watching, you know all about them, but for those who didn't, Team Scott Jones is out of Curl Moncton with Skip, as you could have guessed, Scott Jones. 3rd, Jeremy Millin. 2nd, Brian King. And lead, Robert Daly. And then for Team Hansen, out of the Gage Golf and Country Club, out in Ormuckto, Trevor Hansen is the skip, Adam McDonald is the 3rd, Chris Jenkins is the 2nd, and Chris Cogswell is the lead.
Both teams have 1-1 records at this point.
And Hansen, as you can see, is throwing the yellow stones. Scott Jones' team is throwing the blue stones. So currently the score is 5-4 in the 8th end for Team Hansen. As we continue our coverage here on 360 Live, powered by Bell Alliant,
Our game on sheet 4 ended early with an 8-2 victory of Terry Odishaw over Rene Comeau. Comeau dropped to 0-3. Odishaw moved to 2 wins and 1 loss so far in the round robin.
Lots of rocks in play currently over on sheet 1 as well. So when the other scores and the other games change, we'll be sure to update you on that when it happens. Team Jones trying to get a deuce here in the 8th end. It's vitally important when you're trying to come home with hammer in the 10th end. So Scott Jones definitely has that in mind. Team Hansen will as well.
On sheet 3, we have a draw to 3 o'clock, the 8-foot.
Team Hansen just trying to keep the play away from the side of the sheet. Try and screw up Scott Jones's idea of playing for multiple points. So just trying to draw attention away from the sides. However, both of these yellow stones are a decent distance away from the center line, so perhaps not as good as they could have been towards the center.
And Jones looks like he's going to use those stones for Robert's second throw.
Which is smart. I mean, there's a yellow stone in the very back of the rings there. You might as well freeze to it or draw in between the 2 yellow stones.
Yeah, this looks nice. Very nice. King is trying to give it a little bit of a curl. That's a tricky rock to remove for Trevor, and he's not going to do that. He's going to come down to it.
Yeah, at that point, the game has kind of changed now. So, Team Jones playing the smart call, drawing to the stone of the other team. That was in a helpful position for Team Jones. And now Trevor Hansen forced to play to Scott Jones' stone there.
Sweepers are walking beside Chris Jenkins' rock. It looks like it might be a bit heavy. Certainly is not curling as much as the previous 2 rocks did.
Which would give you the indication that
Here it comes, but
it's heavy. It's definitely tapping it.
Scott Jones is sweeping it. No, very nice, Chris. That came down quite a bit actually within the rings. So
yeah, lost its handle and slowed down pretty
I
quickly.
didn't notice that. Okay, that explains it.
Yeah, it was definitely slowing down. Was losing a little bit of handle there at the end.
Brian King.
Just doing another draw, coming down to that stone that Chris Jenkins had just thrown.
And of course, in order to do so, the broom, the target broom is being moved further and further to the left each time. This might overcurl.
Scott Jones yelling his lungs out, trying to keep this Rob Daly sweeping, and as much as Rob Daly swept his heart out, that stone still overcurled.
So Trevor is continuing to load up that right side of the sheet.
Which at this point you're working with the best you have if you're Team Hansen. May have wanted those rocks in the middle when you started, but now they are where they are, and you're just doing your best with what you got, and they're certainly doing that here in this 8th end. Trying to draw, if you can put this top 4 behind either fully or just partially behind this yellow guard, that's the best idea. But this does seem to be a little heavy, but it's
persuaded.
Coming down now.
Yeah.
Once again, losing a little handle. Might be a little flat in the middle there right now.
I'm wondering that, Will, because we're seeing rocks slow down more than what we did on sheet 4, are we not?
Well, we are. The other thing is there's a difference between the amount of handle that Team Hansen and Team Jones are throwing.
Okay.
Which is fine if you're all throwing the same rotation, and Team Hansen will be more than well aware of that. But we'll see here. Brian King's going to throw this, trying to hit this. this yellow stone. A little less rotation on this, but if we get a chance, I'll try and show you what I mean by this. But if you're throwing a little less rotation and the ice is starting to fudge up a little or slow down a little, your rock will definitely slow down quicker than not.
Good result there. Blue is number 1 with backing, so it's going to be it's going to require a little bit of surgery here for Trevor.
Team Hansen.
Yeah, for Trevor and Adam to remove.
So good shot from Brian King forces Trevor Hansen to give a bit of a thought about how you're going to move this stone.
After a slow start to this game, the first 2 ends were blank. They've been exchanging 2s for the last 4 ends.
So an update over on sheet 1. It is now 5-3 for Roach in the 8th end over James Grattan.
Trevor's called for a freeze.
Yeah, shifting from trying to hit, which is interesting, but this freeze is light. Once again, slowing down in the middle.
Yeah.
And losing its handle again. So that middle of this sheet on sheet 3 is definitely seeing a little more wear and tear than the middle of our sheet had. Team Jones is taking a timeout here to make some further discussion on what to do here.
What would you think would be their options here, Will?
Well, you're trying to get 2 if you're Scott Jones, and right now the problem rocks are those 2 yellow stones.
Definitely.
However, they're also helping you to an extent that now, unless Team Hansen makes a pretty good run back, you're not going to be doing yourself much good by moving them. However, the problem that then ensues is that this back yellow stone is what's keeping them from scoring their multiple end.
True.
And in order to get to that stone, you have to move this yellow rock they're looking at. Now, Scott is putting his broom in between those, which would indicate to me that you can kind of pocket double those 2 yellows.
Mm-hmm.
But if you hit it in the pocket, your blue will stay, but it'll be just far enough over that you might be able to do something with it later, and you might still be able to access both the blue and the yellow stone towards closer to the center of the sheet.
But by removing the yellows, especially the one on the center line, you are opening up your number 1 rock to
Team Hansen.
Yes, for removal.
So it's a bit of a cat and mouse situation here now.
It is.
It's in a situation like this, you're going hard for your 2, Team Scott Jones is. So
this is Jeremy Millet.
It's always a risk. And they will make that double. And just flops over a little towards the center, which is okay.
Yeah.
Better to be your rock in front of it at this point in the end.
Clearly, Trevor and Adam have had a discussion because they quickly are moving into position to throw their rock, so they were anticipating the move by Jones and are now responding to it. Looks like it's a draw, Will.
Mm-hmm.
With a good 6 feet of ice.
Well, at this point now for Team Hansen, there's a center guard out there, which for Scott Jones, it may be helpful that it is his stone, but it's not helpful in the sense that it's a center guard and you have hammer.
Right.
So Team Hansen's going to take advantage of that here now.
Are we looking at a freeze? I think we are.
Yeah, because if Team Hansen can freeze to this blue stone,
then they're more or less forcing them to 1.
Yeah, it's very instrumental in trying to force to 1.
I think the ice is flattening out because once again they're light.
Slowing down the whole, basically after the hog line, it's just slowing down the whole way to the rings.
And I would say really I'm not sure if they quite realize that it's flattening out either.
Yeah, well, especially
The last couple, the sweepers didn't really start until the rock was well down the ice.
although sometimes part of why teams won't realize why it's slowing down is because you're so deep into thinking about well, this is a strategy and we're trying to do this and it's the eighth end and well I want to get it here. You got to remember, especially for players who play in night leagues all the time, when it's going to slow down.
Yes.
The ice is going to come and slow down. It's not always going to be perfect.
Let's see how this run back works.
Not great is the answer.
Yes.
Jeremy Millett was putting his hands in the air like he just didn't care. But he definitely did care because he was yelling at the sweepers to stop.
It was really interesting. You used the expression cat and mouse about 3 or 4 shots ago, Will. And what happened was it was a case of who was going to lose their patience first. And the Jones team did attempt it. Of course, if they made the shot, it'd be great. But right now, they're in an unhappy position because Trevor Hansen and Yellow Rocks are lying 2. Now, the 2 yellows are closely spaced.
And now the danger is there isn't a center guard out for Hansen. So while you rightly mentioned, they are shot, but they're both behind the tee line. They're both grouped. Trevor Hansen's got to be very careful here because it could easily go all wrong for him if you put this stone in the wrong spot.
It does. Some people might have been tempted to remove one of those blue ones because...
which probably is the better call.
Yeah.
Because
those 2 yellows are removable. If something happens to this rock, if it were to pick suddenly or whatever...
It's slowing down.
Yeah.
More handle than the last few rocks for Team Hansen, so it will go further. And it does. So that may allude to part of why everyone else's stones were slowing down.
That's an excellent shot.
That is.
However, is there a triple? Raised triple. Blue onto yellow, onto yellow, onto yellow.
Well, they're just talking, because Jeremy Millett is looking at where does this yellow stone that Trevor Hansen's just thrown go if you try that. And it seems to be that there's a chance, and Scott Jones has just showed us the difficulty with it is that it might go straight into the blue.
Right, the blue that's at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, which might keep you from throwing the triple. Might definitely be worth trying a cross-face double. Hit that rock on Scott Jones's side of the blue stone.
Okay.
And get rid of 2 of the yellows. Your blue might roll behind the guard or out. That's not that big of an issue. But you get rid of some of those yellows, and you're still having at least 2 blues in the house, which seems to be what they might be calling here.
Again, there are other options. That's the fun of curling. Actually, of watching curling is what would you do? Part of it is also with Scott. What's he feel good about? Is he a takeout guy? Has he had good success so far this week with his takeouts?
Lots of weight coming here now. Daly sweeping all the way. Jeremy Millett calling for line.
Close to nose.
So gets the double, and as I said, rolls under the guard.
And remember, we talked about getting rid of blue rocks. Now...
This is why, ladies and gentlemen, that when you're faced with a situation where you're shot 1 and 2, but shot in a not very good of a spot, and as we said, they're both back tee and grouped, you have to be very careful, especially when you have a lead against a good team. Now they'll take a timeout, because I think the smile would be some recognition on Trevor Hansen's part of, whoopsies, maybe we should have gotten rid of something.
Yeah, the smile is indicative. Trevor is a bit of a happy warrior, and the fact that he's facing a puzzle is probably as enjoyable to him as a chess problem.
If you're Trevor Hansen, they seem to be discussing what you do with this stone, this blue stone that Scott Jones had just moved.
You certainly do not want to hit it on the left side and run the risk of removing your yellow.
Yeah, that would be disaster time for Trevor Hansen's team. But if you can hit and roll, that would be pretty ideal.
Roll to the left or roll to the right?
Well, if you can roll to the, left, you're not going to be able to because you're going to be getting rid of your own. But if you can get a little bit of a flop, I think that's as much as you can get to the right.
Is there a double there? The number 3 rock that's beside the number 1 rock. I mean, would you dare do that?
I don't know. I don't know if they see enough of it.
No, I
don't think you can see enough of that.
We're
stone.
not behind that sheet. That's the part. I guess Trevor was touching that rock now.
Yeah, we're looking from about a sheet and a half over.
That's right. Yeah. I think he's just going for the hit. Time's up.
So you want to go for the hit. If you can, nosing this rock may be the best.
With this turn,
situation.
Yeah, I guess that's the other thing, of course, is which turn do you want to throw?
This may be the easier.
It is.
Easier turn to throw.
He could roll, however, by throwing this, he could roll to the right. It's more or less have the yellows lined up, one in front of the other.
Which would not be ideal for Trevor Hansen.
And if he's very thin, he might remove his own. If he hits about, what, a half rock, could he have across the house double?
Probably more like a third or maybe a little less than a third.
Curling.
But we're about to find out, it seems, with how much this is moving.
Wow, he's going to jam his yellow?
Yep. Yes, he is. So, not remotely close to what Trevor Hansen had in mind.
No, and it's a bad time. The 8th end is a bad time to be giving up a 4-ender.
And honestly, this may be the Will Robertson, Andy Steves curse at this point. We comment on a game and someone gives up a 4th ender.
Yeah. Well, we do, and also too. It was funny just looking at that shot. Didn't you have a sense that some way, somehow, there was going to be a jam on that yellow?
Yeah, well, it's really, really, really risky to be throwing at that, but you have to, right?
Yes.
You have to try and get rid of something, and they tried, and they did not succeed.
And even earlier, when Trevor made the fine draw, we talked about the fact that maybe he could have removed a blue just to prevent this.
And I can hear a certain coach of mine, Daryl Nowlin, back home, sitting in his chair somewheres, agreeing with you, Andy. And we warned them.
Yeah.
But they can't hear us. They can't hear us.
No.
So that's a 4-ender for Team Scott Jones to go ahead 8-5 in the 9th end of play here. However, remember, folks, this is the 5-rock rule. There is a pretty decent chance of scoring 2 or 3. In every end, you have hammer. So Trevor Hansen and his squad from the Gauge have plenty of opportunity to get back in it.
And meanwhile, on sheet 2, Sear has gone up 8-6 on Kane. They have stolen 2. They're into the 9th end, and on sheet 1, the score is 5-3. Hasn't changed really from the last time you mentioned it, Will. 5-3. They're in the 9th end. No, it's 5-4.
5-4. James has decided to graciously place a 1 halfway on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
So thanks, James. But they're in the 9th end. So it is 5-4 for Roach, and Roach has hammer in the 9th end. Seems to be that momentum has turned for the game with Ed Sear and Ryan Kane.
It certainly has.
A whole lot of blue stones for Ed Sear and not very many yellow for Ryan Kane on that sheet.
And that's shades of what happened to Sear last night, if you recall, is that they were hanging tough. Things really weren't going their way when they were playing Jones. But lo and behold, a couple of misses later, they won that game.
Once again, those two teams, Ryan Kane and Ed Sear, both from Capital Winter Club, but both playing to try and get to 2-1. which after this draw, the way things are going, may be the best of the records from all the teams, because Grattan is down 5-4. Once again, 2 ends left. Can't jump to any conclusions. And we can't jump to any conclusions here on our now featured sheet on sheet 3. Despite Team Jones being up 3, scoring that 4-ender in the 8th end.
It's not that difficult when I say that. I mean, if you make your shots, it's not that difficult to get 2 to snug it up to the last end. The 3 will require some misses on the part of the Jones team.
Yes, and Team Hansen, at this point, when you give up a 4-ender like that, you got to hope for some misses. And Team Jones definitely had some last night to let Ed Sear back into that game, and eventually to get him back into the win. Obviously, Team Sear made some good shots to get there. But a similar situation here on sheet 3, where unless Team Jones starts really getting some mistakes, you're absolutely right in saying that it's hard to give up 3 if you're Team Jones.
Trevor Hansen gets the other corner guard up. The Cogswell does. Those 2 blues aren't really positioned all that well for Jones.
No.
Relative to each other, because it's a fairly straightforward double and roll that he could get there.
Yeah, if those 2 blue stones were right in front of each other, that would be ideal for Team Jones. But what you can probably sense coming is either A, if this slips in, which it does, I'm going to take a wild guess and say Scott would like to hit that, which he will, I believe. Roll in front of that. And if that hadn't have gone in, I believe Scott Jones would have been throwing a guard in front of those two blue stones. But that yellow did slip in, and thus Scott Jones will be calling for a hit and roll.
Right. Here we go.
Brian King throwing the stone here now.
He's just being given a light clean.
And he will get the roll. And that's
Get the roll, yeah.
Very good shot by Brian King there.
It is. It's a bit of a cluster there. Don't think there's a triple at all, but there's certainly a double.
And Trevor Hansen calling for a hit and roll behind the corner guard.
But just similar to our previous game of Odishaw Comeau, if Trevor does this, he's playing around the 4-foot, which makes the 2 or a 3 that much more difficult. Really, what he would be hoping for is to have some sort of hit and roll here to make use of his guard. Here we go, Chris Jenkins throwing. Fairly quiet wait. No sweeping now, there we go. Do you want to roll the other way? No. Okay.
No, they're going to just nose, get rid of one, move the other.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an overlap on yellow and blue, I think. But if, as Jones points out, Scott Jones points out, if you come down that side, the center line side, it should be fairly easy to remove the yellow cleanly.
You can get a bit of a roll here if you're Brian King. That's pretty good. This will curl all the way out of his hand. Jeremy Mellis sweeping straight out of his hand.
Well, curling.
Scott Jones once again yelling to beat the band.
Curling hard. This is not a bad result for Hansen, actually. He can go back to using his guard, yes.
So he's going to try and draw around now. The danger is that there are 2 blue stones in the rings, but you kind of have to play this really aggressive to try and get your 2 or get your 3 here.
Right. Trevor has to score, or he shakes hands. So with that in mind, whether or not to be aggressive, the answer is obvious. You have to.
So last end, there was some issues with weight. There's a lot of draws coming up light for Team Hansen, which definitely helped Scott Jones get his 4-ender. So
This looks good.
It's good that this has come in now. So it seems that Team Hansen may have grasped the idea that the ice is slowing down a little and threw a little more weight to adjust.
But again, off quite suddenly. So, yeah.
Something to be careful of.
Yes, for sure. It's not so much a worry for Jones because they're throwing takeouts. Flattening ice is not as much an issue as when you're trying to throw precision shots.
But here is a precision shot.
Well, it's
Scott Jones once again yelling hard. Just rubs the guard and moves the back one
Jeremy's
further back.
Jeremy once again is raising his arms in the air. He might be hating the Capital Winter Club here by the end of the weekend because he's had a couple of close calls there that have not worked out.
Although Jeremy Miller pointing the finger at himself, which would tell me that
he knows, self-inflicted.
He may have been a little inside or turned it in a little, but we shall see. So now for Team Hansen, you're in a better spot.
Yes.
They were in a good spot to start with.
You got backing. That did nudge the guard over, so his one rock in the rings is wide open. It's probably number 2, do you think? I think the blue one at the back of the rings is number 1.
Yeah, it's hard to see from here, but it may indeed be number 2. If Trevor Hansen can get this yellow stone behind the yellow that's already there, almost like you're freezing to the blue one, which is the call, that is the best result. However, this is
weight's an issue again.
Seriously slowing down to the point where the sweepers have given up on it.
It's probably at this point that I would think between Chris or Cogswell, what's his first name is Chris. They should be picking this up. There should be a communication among the players that the ice is flattening out.
Someone just needs to grab a hold of them and just shake them and go, look.
Yeah.
It's slowing down.
Add 4 feet.
This is what curling ice does. It slows down.
Wow.
And anyway, here we are.
Jeremy removed 1 yellow, but he also removed 2 blues as well. His shooter and the one that was parked at 3 o'clock.
Which may not be ideal, but it's a bit of redemption for Jeremy after his first shot.
Right.
That result's a pretty good result.
Oh yeah, there's nothing bad about that result. It simplifies the house for one thing.
Yeah, which is important here now.
What we're looking at is developing to be a 2-ender for Trevor.
However,
barring misses, but we're into the weight situation. Let's just watch this. Now, you notice it's just halfway down the ice, and they have not yet really swept it. Let's see how deep it goes.
Now, there has been a weight adjustment here, so they might have given the head a shake after we suggested they should have.
They did miss the line, though.
Yes, so this is the issue here, is that Team Hansen needs to try and get 2 points. But the problem with playing your stones to the same side in the same area is that it makes the other team's job really, really easy when it comes to trying to limit you down, because doubles just magically appear out of nowhere, and there you go.
But the object, of course, was to try to get the 3. If they'd been content with the 2, they would have gone just to the open side. But
yes.
I am surprised that they allowed the overcurl, because that rock was not going to be heavy.
No, we have handshakes on sheet 2. We'll update you on that score. But it would seem to me that Team Sear would have won that game. So we'll update you on that score line when we get the chance. Meanwhile, Scott Jones's rock is taken off, and will roll. Stay in, but
question is, which rock is number 1?
That is a good question, Andy.
I'm guessing the way that where they're standing and the way they're waving the brooms, that blue one is number 1.
Well, that seems to be the focus, and the goal is to get to that blue one, so I'd be inclined to agree with you. The question is how to get to that blue one, and what do you want to do?
I saw I saw waving towards the number 3 blue rock, hitting off that and over. But
Well,
what are they looking at here? Are they drawing it?
well, they're trying. They're trying to balance the option of, okay, well, yes, we have to get rid of this. Well, okay, if you have to get rid of it, then logic says, okay, well, that's a short run back. All right, well, let's play that. Well, all right, logic can easily be skewed. And in that case, the problem with that is that you probably only sit one.
Right.
You're not guaranteed to be second shot with where the other blues are. Drawing down to it, you can at least try and be shot in a tricky spot. And if Scott Jones misses his shot, then suddenly you may be looking at either a shot for 3 or an easy draw for 2.
It's a draw. Let's see if Trevor was part of the conversation about the flat ice. He threw a nice draw on the previous end, so.
This is really curling for him, though.
It really is. It's strong curl.
Well, this might split.
There we go.
And might be sitting 1 and 2. Definitely 1.
And if not, the blue one is now open at the back. It's important, isn't it, that Trevor be 1 and 2, because if Jones is going to hit number 1. If he hits and sticks, it's a difficult double.
So Jones is going to just hit the nose on this rock.
So normal weight, is that normal weight takeout? That's fairly light.
That's control weight. That's a fairly decent weight, but it will move. And it is definitely moving. It just gets a little flop, so not bad.
No, nice rock.
But
nicely thrown.
May leave a somewhat easy double for...
They're calling in a hurry. I wonder if Trevor's got time problems here. There's no discussion at all. It's really a case of Adam putting down the broom and Trevor throwing it here. What Trevor wants to do is hit about 3/4 of this rock and make the double. It is starting to curl hard. It looks like it might be.
And
how many times have we seen jams this weekend so far, Will?
Tons.
Tons, really.
Lots of them. You could almost put it on bread. Really? That many jams? I know.
I agree.
It's a real knee slapper. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
But, yeah, so that's only 1 for Hansen, and they'll have to steal 2 to try and get into an 11th end.
Yes.
Which is definitely a difficult task at hand. Yeah. Team Jones is a really good team, but Hansen is a good team as well. So we shall see what happens here in this 10th end. And just to update you on the score on sheet 2, we told you there are handshakes. For whatever reason, it seems to me that Team Sear has some really good second halves. They had a really good second half last night against Scott Jones, and that's what led to them winning that game. Along with some errors, but they still played really, really well. Team Sear scored 2 in the 7th, stole 2 in the 8th, and then stole 4 in the 9th to beat Ryan Kane 12-6 with handshakes after the 9th end. And over on sheet 1, we don't have an update on the score yet.
I see a 1. It looks like it might be 6-3, is it? Yes, it is.
6-4.
6-4.
They haven't updated the totals in 2 ends. Thanks, guys. But it is 6-4 for Roach over Grattan in the 10th end.
With Grattan having the hammer and needing to get 2 to tie or 3 to win.
Meanwhile, over here, you see the 5-rock rule in effect on sheet 3. The guard had been taken out as it had to be replaced.
And
which is helpful for Team Hansen.
Yeah, so as a result, Trevor gets the first 2 rocks of this end.
certainly not.
Unfortunately, they're not going to be well placed.
Yeah, that's not what you wanted to do with your first couple rocks. I mean, having the guard in the center at the start was good, but using the second one to bump it, maybe not as good. So you see Scott Jones here. Nothing good to be done with this rock.
Robert's throwing it through.
Throwing it through, up two with hammer. Some teams would go into the rings. Some teams would play a tick shot. Scott Jones, after Rob Daly had missed the first tick shot, is just electing to throw it through.
Again, you're up two with the hammer. You're in a very good position, so clutter is a bad thing. Let's see where this guard goes.
Now, Hansen is indicating for it to stop as a 1. There's a high guard.
Right.
Which it will.
The distance between hogline and rings is considerable, so what log curlers do is break it into 3 different zones. Zone 1 is just beyond the hogline. Zone 3 is next to the rings, and Zone 2, as you might guess, is in the middle, more or less where Scott Jones is standing right now. The problem with Hansen is their rocks essentially are all in Zone 2, so they're clustered, ready for removal. And there's a very nice rock thrown.
Brian King just playing the double peel there, making that very well.
Yeah, only used the magic eraser there. They're gone.
Yep. So now Team Hansen will try and get around. Well, no, they're just going to throw another guard here, which is all right, but depends on where this rock goes.
I'd say it's Zone 2, Will.
Which would not be good for Team Hansen unless it's frozen. And it isn't, but it's close.
I expect to see this one have considerable pace on it, because really the only way to get rid of 2 of them is with a lot of force. Hitting, about half or a third of it.
Yeah, you do have to hit this then with a lot of weight in order to get rid of both. And it is not hitting it then.
It's more or less nose. And they both roll together. Not ideal, but again, it's simple. And the most of the button, half to 4 foot, is exposed.
Just to give you some information on sheet 1 right now, there's a whole lot of, there's 3 blues out front and 3 yellows in the rings, and no indication of Grattan getting close to setting up a decent chance for 2 over there. So we'll, it's early goings yet in the middle of that end, the 10th end on sheet 1. So we'll let you know. But on sheet 3 here,
so there's a guard in Zone 1.
So Jeremy Millett will try and get rid of some of these guards. You don't want your shooter to stick around. And his shooter does stick around.
However, center line is pretty well clear. The guard on the, well, actually both guards are kind of in an awkward position in terms of drawing to the button. Draw a path to the button would be more or less go through where those 2 guards are.
So Hansen's still throwing the guard, which is fair enough. You have to score, you have to steal 2 if you're Hansen. So you're going to throw guards until you can't throw anymore.
Another Zone 2.
And then afterwards they have to bury a rock, hope for miss. Bury a rock, hope for miss is the strategy for Team Hansen.
Here's Mr. Millet's rock. Looks like that one won't stay around.
And that's fine. Team Hansen taking a timeout.
They're down to 2 rocks. So the question is, do you throw a guard or do you make use of what you have? And they're going to make use of what they have. They're going to try to bury behind the left-hand rock.
Yeah, they have to make use of what they have because they have 2 rocks remaining. So down to trying to steal 2. All you got left is trying to make do. As I said before, you gotta hope for a miss.
Trevor's had good weight the last couple ends. Unlike most rock throwers have been throwing draws, he has not come up light, at least to this point. It's starting to slow down, Will.
It's coming down, but it still seems to have enough weight to get in.
No, sir.
No. No, and that, well...
Not even a Klingon.
Yeah, you might be able to split that to sit 2, but when you do, as long as Scott Jones gets rid of this guard, you'll be wide open.
Line was good. You put 4 feet, 5 feet on that, and it would be on the tee line, full 8 foot. Here we go. Scott Jones trying to peel the guard. I don't think there's any attempt at a run back or anything like that.
Clean peel, and now
Trevor will use his first draw to be the guard for his second draw.
Which wouldn't... yeah. I'm not sure Trevor... Well, Trevor has to try and play the tick. Unless that's in the rings and they're guessing it's already in. But he has to play back house weight to try and tick this yellow.
You're right. That's right.
Roll in to sit 2.
He's down
Otherwise,
2.
it's handshakes.
Right.
Looks pretty good for the split. Can't roll any of them out. Oh, but he does.
And handshakes on sheet 3.
So the final score will be
8 to 6.
8 to 6 with handshakes on the 10th.
X's in the 10th, yeah.
And meanwhile, just to give you one final update over on sheet 1 before we finish gracing you with our voices this afternoon. Grattan and Roach are in their 10th end. Once again, the score is 6 to 4, despite them not updating the total score on the board. And they're into the last skip stones.
And Roach is trying to remove a Grattan stone, which is, I think, number 2.
Yeah, Roach has shot 1, and now also 2. Game is now over. And so Roach will defeat Grattan in the 10th end in that game, and that finishes off our coverage for this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Please tune in tonight for the 7 o'clock draw, and until then, have a good rest of your afternoon/evening. Thank you.
Good night.